The wind had a voice that night, not a whisper, not a scream, just a long, hollow moan that slid down the granite faces of the Black Rock Mountains and crawled through the trees like a warning. Ranger Ethan Cole listened to it as he made his way through knee-deep snow. 58 winters in Montana had carved lines into his face, the kind that come not from age but from weathering too much solitude. His knees ached. They always did when a storm was brewing, and tonight the western sky looked like a fresh bruise. He wasn't on a routine patrol. He was hunting men, poachers who left cigarette butts in the snow and wire snares set for anything with fur thick enough to sell. They were an infection in the wilderness he called home, and Ethan, like the land itself, had no mercy left for infections. He topped a ridge and paused. The forest was still too still. Then it came, a sound that didn't belong here, not wind. Not wolf, it was the low growl of pain, followed by a frantic, high-pitched cry, the kind of sound that slices through instinct and goes straight for the heart. Ethan followed the noise, moving slow, rifle loose in his hands. The smell hit him before he saw it, iron, fear, and something wild. Then in a clearing he saw her, a bobcat, magnificent, even broken, her front leg caught in a steel trap, the chain pulled so tight it had carved a crater in the snow. Her fur was spiked with ice, her eyes yellow and furious. She hissed at him, but there was no fight left in it, just pain, and something behind her caught his eye 10 feet away, a dark hole in the snow. A perfect circle, black and bottomless. From inside came the weak mew of a kitten. Ethan's stomach turned cold, an old mining shaft, 12 feet deep, coated in ice. The baby was down there, paddling in freezing water, its tiny claws scratching uselessly at the slick walls. The mother stared at him. Her gaze, once full of hate, shifted, pleading, desperate, wild. He whispered, "I see you, Mama." I sees. He dropped his pack, pulled out rope and a carabiner. He couldn't climb in, the shaft was too narrow. He had to lasso the kitten. He lay flat on the snow, heart hammering, fingers trembling from the cold. "Come on, little one," he murmured. The loop dipped, swayed, missed. The kitten slipped under the surface. No, Ethan jerked the rope, eyes wide. The tiny body surfaced again, sputtering. One more try. The loop tightened under its leg. He pulled hand over hand, the rope burning against his gloves. When it reached him, it was a shivering bundle of life no heavier than a breath. He tore open his jacket, pressed the kitten against his chest, skin to skin. "Hang on, buddy," he whispered, breath fogging in the wind, and somehow the kitten did. He hid the baby in a nest of spruce branches, wrapped in wool, and turned back to the mother. "Your turn," he said softly. She hissed weakly, eyes fading. He took out wire cutters, crouched close, murmuring, "Easy now, I'm not the one who did this." He was 2 feet away when the sound of voices cracked the silence. "Marcus, told you I heard something. Poachers, close, too close." Ethan's pulse quickened. He jammed the cutters into the trap, grunting. The jaws creaked open just enough. The bobcat ripped her paw free, blood spraying across the snow. She looked at him for one long moment, eyes endless as the night. Then she turned, limped to the spruce thicket, grabbed her kitten, and vanished into the storm. Ethan stood, breath ragged, a rifle cocked behind him. 2 men in ragged coats stepped into view. Jed, thin and twitchy, and Marcus, broad-shouldered, dead-eyed. Marcus sneered. "That was our bobcat, old man." Ethan unzipped his coat, revealing his badge and the pistol at his hip. "This is federal land," he said calmly. "And you're done." Jed raised his rifle. Ethan drew, fired once. A branch above Jed's head exploded. Snow rained down. Jed screamed and dropped his gun. Marcus froze, realizing the ranger wasn't bluffing. Ethan's voice was granite. "My next shot won't be a warning." They surrendered. 3 hours later, Ethan marched them through a blizzard to his truck. He didn't speak, didn't need to. The mountain's silence did all the talking. But some debts don't stay buried. A week later, Marcus and Jed made bail. The case stalled in court. And one afternoon, while Ethan tracked elk through a narrow ravine, the trap was sprung literally. A weighted net fell from above, wrapping him tight. He struggled, but they were on him fast. They tied his wrists, bound his ankles, and dragged him for miles through the snow. The sun dropped, and the cold grew sharp as glass. When they stopped, he saw the tree, tall, isolated. Perfect for a grave, they tied him there, his back to the trunk, his arms behind him. Marcus grinned. "You like saving animals, Ranger? Good, you'll feed them tonight." He poured a bottle of blood into the snow, circling Ethan, tossing chunks of deer meat as he went. Ethan's breath caught. "You're baiting me." Marcus leaned close, the stench of rot thick in his beard. "The wolves are hungry. Let's see what kind of mercy they show." They laughed, turned, and disappeared into the storm. Silence fell again, thick and endless. Then came the first howl. Low, distant, beautiful in its terror. Another answered, then another. Ethan strained against the ropes, the zip ties cutting into his wrists. The wolves appeared like ghosts, 8 of them, eyes glowing green in the moonlight. The alpha, black as soot, stepped forward. Ethan stared back, unblinking. He'd faced death before, but this was primal. The circle closed in, and then chaos. A scream, shrill, furious, alive, tore through the night. A blur of gold and blood dropped from the tree above. The mother bobcat. She hit the alpha like lightning, claws slashing, teeth sinking deep. The wolves scattered, shocked. She twisted, hissed, and leapt again, a storm of fury and courage, outnumbered and bleeding. She wasn't hunting. She was defending, not her cub this time, him. Ethan felt the plastic at his wrists bend, crack. One more twist, it snapped. His hands were free. He reached down, pulled a small knife from his boot, missed by the poachers, and cut himself loose. The wolves regrouped, circling her again. He stumbled to his feet, grabbed a fallen branch, and shouted into the void, "Hey!" His voice echoed across the valley. The wolves hesitated, then engines, distant, snowmobiles cutting through the dark, searchlights flashing between the trees. The wolves turned, melted back into the forest. The bobcat stood on a rock, panting, bleeding, magnificent in the glow of the lights. Ethan collapsed to his knees. Two rescuers ran to him, Mark, his partner, and a deputy. "Ethan, my God, what happened?" He pointed weakly to the rock. "Her," he said. "She saved me." They turned, but she was already gone. Only her tracks in the snow, leading toward the trees. The poachers were caught before dawn. The trail of blood they left led the law straight to them. By sunrise, it was over. Justice in every sense of the word. When the medics arrived, they found Ranger Ethan Cole sitting against the same tree that was meant to be his tomb. His face was pale, frost-burned, but peaceful. He looked up toward the ridge, and there they were. Two silhouettes in the snow, one large, one small. The mother bobcat and her cub, side by side, watching him. The wind quieted. For a long moment, the mountain held its breath. There was no hatred in her eyes, no fear, just something older. Recognition, balance. Ethan raised a trembling hand, a small nod of respect. She returned the gesture in her own way, by turning, nudging her cub, and vanishing into the wilderness. The snow fell softly again, covering the tracks, erasing the violence, leaving only peace. As the medics lifted Ethan onto the stretcher, Mark whispered, "What do you call that, partner?" "Luck," Ethan smiled faintly. "No," he said. "That's the mountain keeping its word." And somewhere beyond the trees, a bobcat's cry answered the wind.